Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video podcast show, I guess, in which I talk about the articles that I'm publishing on my website, theartofthomas.wordpress.com, Thomas with no H, because, yes, my name comes from Spanish language, so it's pronounced Tomas, not Thomas, and it has no H, Tomas. So theartofthomas.wordpress.com, and you can also, if you want to get everything straight to your email, you can join artofthomas.substack.com. Anyway, let's start from the beginning today. The last article I wrote, which I published yesterday, it's called The Warfare of Attention. And the article came about because I was in my studio, and while I'm doing stuff, while I'm drawing or anything, I like to listen to podcasts. That's the main way that I like to get information. I think it's great because in a podcast, you can have a longer conversation, especially with complicated subjects. Whereas usually in TV, you get everything condensed to like 5 minutes. That's not the way to have proper conversations. And one of the podcasts that I really like listen to is the Joe Rogan Experience. Especially like a lot of his stuff, sometimes it's a bit more on the lines of entertainment. But every now and then he has really interesting guests, and then they can have very deep conversations about very important subjects. And this was the case. It was a few days ago. I listened to the podcast that Joe did with a guy named Tristan Harris. Now, Tristan Harris is the filmmaker. Well, he's not a filmmaker. He used to work for Google, and he created the documentary The Social Dilemma, which gathered a bunch of people that used to work for big tech companies, and they all left because they were worried about the effect that those companies were having on society. And they created a film to warn people and for people to help them understand the dangers. And anyway, it's a great documentary. If you haven't watched it, I really recommend you should. It's on Netflix and I believe on some other streaming platforms. It's very, very good to start understanding this subject, which is extremely complicated. Tristan Harris is also I don't know if he's the creator, but he is very much involved with this place called the Center for Humane Technology. And they're trying to address these issues and find solutions. They also have their own podcast that you can listen to. I recommend that you do. And I haven't looked around their website too much, but I will. And then I might do more videos if I find stuff that is very interesting. I recommend you do your own research in this respect, and you should, delve into it, and because it I think is one of the biggest issues of our time, how social media and their algorithms are affecting our lives. Anyway, if you look into the Making Sense section that I added to my website, you will find here that I actually recommend the Social Dilemma documentary. I added the trailer, you can watch it there. And if you scroll a little bit down, I actually put a clip from the podcast episode that Tristan Harris and Joe Rogan did talking about these issues. And I put a clip that I thought it was great because Tristan is explaining in a very simple way what the problem is in essence. And actually, in my article, I wrote it down because I thought it was beautifully put and very easy to understand. So I'll just read it to you now. So, because I think it's important for people to be aware of this. So he says that our problem is that we have Paleolithic emotions and brains that are easily hackable. We have medieval institutions that fundamentally are unable to adapt or foresee new technologies. And at the same time, we have godlike powers through this technology. And then he asks the question, how can we wield the power of gods without the love, prudence, and wisdom of a god? And that is the problem in a nutshell. If you look at humans from an evolutionary point of view, we are not much different than we were when we were living in caves, when we were hunter-gatherers. So our biological structure is not prepared to live in a world with so much information and all this technology. So our brain is very vulnerable. It's easy to hack by these technologies and by the social media algorithms and that stuff. And he says we have medieval institutions, which is very true. All of our infrastructure, our governments, and everything that we've built our society upon, it was never meant to function in this landscape, which is completely new. So our institutions, they cannot foresee, and they are very slow to adapt. At the same time, the rate of innovation is increasing all the time, and our institutions are always behind. And as we go forward in time, the divide between them is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's creating all sorts of issues. So that is, in essence, the problem, and I think we should all be aware about it. Also, one thing that he talks about in the podcast with Joe Rogan that you should definitely go and watch, because I'm going to try to summarize it, but they talk for over 3 hours, so I'm not going to be able to put everything into one video. So one thing that's happening is, let's take, for example, Facebook, right? Facebook is dividing everyone into groups, and the groups are not talking to each other, right? So you're being isolated, and you're being put in a place where you only get your point of view, and everybody around you seems to agree on that point of view. And the algorithms, which are in fact acting as curators by prompting certain pieces of content and not prompting others, which they are, in essence, they're not trying to divide us. They're not trying to attack us. They're designed to figure out how to make us engage with the website more. So it comes from a good place, but the end result is extremely bad, because what ends up happening is that as humans, we're most likely to react to something that we don't like, something that makes us upset. So the algorithm is going to show us more of that. There's analogy that if you're driving down the road and you see a car crash next to you, you're gonna see it's gonna attract your attention. Well, in this case, the algorithm is gonna notice that you're paying more attention to the car crash. So what ends up happening is that it's gonna show you one car crash after the other, in keeping you hooked in the platform. And of course, that is a real problem. Also, what ends up happening is that within these groups, the most extreme views are the ones that are getting prompt. For example, if, say, like me, you think inflation is a real problem, if I write a post saying, you know what, I think inflation might affect us in this and that way, I think it might not be good because this and this and that, and I put that out in Facebook, it's probably not going to do too well. However, if I write the same ideas, but I express them in inflation is the greatest tragedy that ever happened to humankind ever, and whoever supports it, it's dangerous and evil, and we should rebel against them. You know, if I take my view to the extreme and to its most aggressive expression, that's going to do much better in the algorithm. So effectively, we are all put into some sort of sociological and psychological experiment where we are constantly being rewarded by expressing ourselves in our most extreme and, you know, like almost like looking for a fight. And if you don't do that, the algorithms don't share your content. So we're all driven because we're all seeking attention. We are all driven to become the most extreme versions of ourselves. At the same time, we're all put into these isolating groups, so we don't get the information from the other groups. So we become very isolated, narrow in our information and our point of view, and also to the extreme. This is super, super dangerous. And it's happening, and most people, they don't pay attention to it at all. They don't know that's happening. And like the algorithms are affecting your mind. They are trying to rewrite your neural pathworks. And again, most people, they are not aware that this is happening, especially, you know, when it comes to children, teenagers, that's even worse. You know, if you're an adult, at least you have some more of an experience, and it's easier for you to manage this. But if you're young and you're growing up in this landscape, it's going to be interesting to see how that affects a developing person and what kind of person they end up becoming if they grew up in this place where you're, again, incentivized to be the most aggressive you can be, and also to be extremely close to other people's opinions and influence. It is really a big, big problem. And then that's just how the social media functions. But then there is another problem on top of that, which is bad actors can actually exploit the system, right? And in the podcast, they go in to talk about troll farms. If you don't know what a troll farm is, imagine a giant warehouse filled with computers and people working, and all those people, their full-time job is to go into the internet, into social medias, and create memes and start fights. Basically, that's all they are trying to do: spread misinformation and create conflict. And that's their full-time job. Some troll farms are actually run by governments that hire full-time people to basically create conflict in other countries, right? And this is happening. China is doing it to America. America is doing it to Russia. Russia is doing it to both. Like, this is, we are in an pretty much, it's war, it's madness. And the thing is that social media makes it extremely easy and profitable to do this. It's crazy, right? So let's look at some of the numbers that Tristan Harris points out in the episode of Joe Rogan. I wrote them down because I thought it was very interesting to find out. This is all just talking about Facebook, but this is happening in every social media. So in the podcast, they say that 19 of the top 20 Christian groups in Facebook were run by troll farms. So the top 20, if you're looking at the video, yes, I made a mistake when I wrote it in the article, but yeah, it's top 19 of the top 20, 19 of the top 20 Christian groups in Facebook were run by troll farms, okay? 2/3 of the top 15 groups for African Americans in Facebook were run by troll farms. 1/3 of the top 15 for Native Americans were also run by troll farms. And this is another thing that he said. First of all, that is insane. Like, most of the groups in Facebook seem to be run by troll farms, which is extremely dangerous. And then Tristan talks about a change that Facebook did to their algorithm. Because before, in order for a group, if I have a group and I post content, in order for that content to reach you, you would have to first sign in to my group. You have to give it a like. And then that would open the door for my content to reach you. Now, because Facebook's interaction in the website was going down, they changed it. And now, if I post something in a group, you don't have to join my group in order for my content to reach you. If I invite you to my group, even if you don't accept my invitation, you're going to still start getting the updates of my group. So they release a statistic saying that 85% of the people that were reached by troll farms were not following the group. So Facebook is allowing the troll farms to gain a lot more power, because now we don't even need, even if we don't sign up to the page, we can still be affected by them. And because there's no way for us to know which group is run by trolls and which one is not, we are extremely vulnerable. It's very dangerous. And then he says, in October, a study showed that 140 million Americans per month were reached by troll farms. 140 million per month. That is insane. It's insane. The problems with social media are getting more and more, and it's getting worse. The situation is getting worse, is put it simply. And this is very, very difficult for people to make an objective reality of the world that we're living in. And if you can't do that, then you cannot make the right decisions in your life. And if you're not aware that this is happening and you just go around your daily life and you don't understand that this is happening, you're extremely vulnerable for people to distort your mental model of the world. That is very dangerous. And if I had to put a common theme between all the videos that I've been making, is that we are entering a phase in human history where a large percentage of the population don't understand the technology we have. They don't understand its dangers. They have a completely broken mental model of the world. They are not open to information. And that is probably the largest percentage of people around the world today, which is insane. Okay, I don't know how this ends. I'm just trying to put this out there for people to be aware. And like, we at least need to understand that it's a problem before we can start fixing it. And even like in our lives, we need to start making certain changes, and we need to start paying attention to certain things, because otherwise we're gonna be heading down a cliff. And I believe, which is not something that I say with a smile on my face, it's not something that makes me happy, but looking at how things are and looking where things are going, I'm thinking, okay, like, the people who are not paying attention to this, they're gonna be affected, and their lives are gonna go in the wrong direction. Whereas the people that are paying attention, are taking measures, they're gonna do better. So I think we're heading to a point where some people are gonna benefit a lot, and the people that are not paying attention will not. And that's gonna create a big divide. I don't know how that's gonna play out, but I think we're gonna see that. We're gonna see that the people that are not paying attention are just gonna do worse and worse and worse, where the other group is gonna do better and better and better. And I don't know how long that can sustain itself. I'm not sure. That's why I'm trying to warn people about this. Anyway, now all this that we've been talking about is the problem that we have right now, where the artificial intelligence and the algorithms are curating, are boosting certain content, are downgrading other types of content, and they are providing hyper targeting capabilities for troll farms. So if you're a troll farm, you can create a meme specifically to target certain kinds of people, which is what Cambridge Analytica did. I don't know if you know what happened then, but pretty much they were creating hyper targeting messages to convince people in United States not to vote. And they did it in the United States, and they did it in a couple more countries. And it's extremely effective. It's really effective. And it's a problem, because if you can convince one side of the argument not to vote, then the other side wins by the default. So, these weapons can be used to influence elections in a big, big way, which, of course, it's a really big problem if your country runs on democracy. Also, if you divide the people into not accepting the other person's point of view, that also creates division. That we can't work in a democracy if we cannot find middle ground and work together. You have one side of the country pulling on one side, the other side is pulling on the other, and nothing gets done. Everything gets stuck. And that's what's happening in the world right now. And this problem is going to become much worse soon. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I think we should be ready. Because right now, the algorithms and the artificial intelligence is only curating the content. But very soon, they're going to start to be able to create the content. And then the amount of disinformation is going to grow exponentially. So they were showing some algorithms that can actually write content and use real statistics and cite real studies, and you can make them reach any conclusion you like. So if you want to write a post about how social media is great, you put that in, and the algorithm will write one for you that makes sense, cites real data, and it's perfect. And then you can ask them to write a post with the complete opposite view, and it will make it. And it will also make sense, and it will also cite data and statistics. And it will take a lot more effort and time to disprove the fake papers than it takes to produce them by a large margin. So for every paper you're able to disprove, you can create 1,000 more. So of course, this is gonna be a massive, massive, massive issue. However, I think here is where we can find some sort of, if we can somehow use NFT technology, which actually you can stamp something in the blockchain, and like your algorithm, if you're trying to create a post, you can ask the algorithm to imitate a certain writer's style and voice, and you can make it so it's like he wrote it, but there's no way for the algorithm to copy that person's digital signature in the blockchain. So we can use that as a way of knowing that, yes, this person was the one who wrote this article. And we need to reach a stage where we trust the individuals that we know are being honest. And pretty much we will have to disregard everything that we find online at face value. You won't be able to accept it just because, it's written and it makes sense. It might still not be true. So I think we will need to reach a stage where pretty much every scientific paper and everything done by news and stuff like that will have to be in the blockchain, because it's the only way for us to determine that it's actually a real thing with a person behind and not just an algorithm. However, and I know I'm jumping around, but what this means is that once again, the people who understand NFTs and blockchain, those will be the persons that can find the real information. Whereas the large majority of people, they don't know this, they won't know it, they don't understand how it works, they will fall prey for all the fake news. So this is, in my opinion, this is only going to incentivize the divide even more. And honestly, I cannot see where this is all going. I'm just seeing a breach that is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm trying to warn people to get them ready. And hopefully, we can help the people understand this. Hopefully. Just not sure how it's all going to play out. We got to pay attention. We got to be ready. And that's all I want to say. Please check out the podcast with Joe Rogan and Tristan Harris. Is very, very, we have to be aware of all that's happening. That's all I will say. From my part, I'll try to keep on learning and writing and communicating this stuff. I know it's not happy stuff. Maybe it's not hopeful towards the future. I do believe we will reach a really great future once we have everything in order. But we will, I believe, and I'm not happy saying this, but I think we're going to go through a period of I don't know, a period of a lot of uncertainty. And yeah, we just need to be aware. Now, in order to finish this with a bit of good feeling, if you wish, I'll just point out that my website has now 2 new sections. One is music, where you can find some of the songs that I've been writing and recording. It's all done by myself. So if you go back to the beginning, the first ones are recording with a cell phone. The last ones, at least I got a good microphone, so it's starting to sound better, but I'm not a professional musician. So it's just, yeah, most of them are songs that I wrote for my girlfriend. So you can enjoy that. And there's the last section I added is poems, which sometimes during my day, I like to take some time to meditate. And then once I finish my meditation session, before doing anything else, I like just to write whatever comes to my mind. And I was like, well, I might as well start posting them. My website is called The Art of Thomas. So my girlfriend was telling me, like, it's not enough art here. There's a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts, articles, but where is The Art of Thomas? So I was like, yeah, that's right. I should start putting more stuff up there. So I'm just going to read the one I did today. It has no title. So it says, the greatest battle lies within. The biggest challenge we might ever face could very well be to look into the mirror and see. The little child that we once were, alongside the person we could have been, all the possibilities, everything in between. Taking a deep breath, seizing the moment without searching for an escape. Close your eyes there and then. Offer yourself forgiveness, redemption, love. Empathy needs to start with ourselves. There is no other way. A man at peace with himself is powerful beyond measure. Only then we might start to create those changes we so wish to see upon the world. Well, I hope you liked it, and I want to start creating more content also about mental and emotional stability and personal growth and that kind of stuff. I think that's also something that's very much needed in today's world. But yeah, just pay attention, keep on learning, don't get discouraged. Have an amazing day. That's all. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was good for you, helpful. See you on the next one, I guess.